Okay, so we've talked about the problems, so let's now talk about the solutions.
The solutions really begin with trying to see democracy, a moral democracy, as the aim and goal that each individual and family should have, as opposed to oligarchy. Oligarchy is the rule by the few, democracy is the rule by the many. So when we begin to look at the, I think, very significant problems that are developing around the world, and begin to find the same people, the same small group, underneath so many things that are happening, we have to begin to think about rebuilding democracy. There are some key points that we need to keep in mind. The first is the internet, which is bringing forth information which previously wouldn't have been discovered, wouldn't have been found. We need to be continually working on the internet, bringing these issues to light and communicating with each other, so that the main weapon that the Lombard has, which is secrecy, is eroded and broken. So that's the first thing that we can all do and should be doing. The second thing is to begin to look at our countries and our politicians, working out whether they are being influenced by something and who they are, and also looking for the restoration of democracy by the people's right, votes, referenda. To give you an example, one notable politician was recently heard saying that we would not be having a vote on the European Union because he thought it was beneficial for us. He has forgotten, I think, the fact that he was voted into power and that people have opinions, and it is high time for two things to happen. First of all, education about the European Union, where it came from, who's behind it, and secondly, a vote for our nation. So we're beginning to look at the sort of secrecy that is just oozing out of the beams at the moment. Why are we allowing the secrecy in our communities and the secret societies, the secret red masonry, the Bilderbergs? Why do we allow this to happen in a democracy? And we have questions, therefore, our political class. One of the unfortunate things that happened is that our laws are being subverted by hidden people in hidden places, thinking particularly of the European Union, but other countries have their problems, and there's a great fear in America that the Constitution is being eroded as well as the people's freedom. So we need to look at that. We must begin to look at the way even our laws are being subverted by some kind of international process. You might find a politician goes to Europe and comes back and saying, well, it's all signed in blood. We can't do anything about it because it's the law of whoever the law now belongs to. But what we need to do is to bring back the sovereignty of nation and the sovereignty of our law. And that means that national law has to be more important than international law. And that law in our own country needs to belong to the people as their possession and right. So there's a huge change needed to stop this growth of what is called internationalism, but by now you will know that it is Lombard greed where it is heading. The next issue, of course, is the safety of banking, and we hear various soundbites about how much has been done to make banking safe, and yet I have described the Bank of International Settlements and the G7, 8 or whoever it may now be, is very much linked into those kind of systems. So we need to see British banks which are totally independent of international banking, which are protected against internationalists, which build up assets properly so that we know what they are, and which gets the ratio between precious assets like gold and silver to the paper money ratio correct and stable. At the moment, we're being driven in exactly the opposite direction, which is to move from the collapse of paper money systems into the SDR world paper system. And those who are currently in politics telling us that we're not going into the euro haven't told us the rest of the story, that we soon find ourselves under special drawing rights. So there are two very important things. The first is the law and the way that that needs to be brought under control, and the second is the banking, which also needs to be brought under control. Around both these issues is the right of people to know things, to know where things have come from, to have a voice that is heard, and to have a vote. So there are things to head for in the restoration of democracy to stop the creep of oligarchy. And the next thing that we all have to be aware of and have to be on our toes about is the erosion of religion, of education, of finance, and of politics. In politics, I'm thinking of the way we now conduct our affairs overseas. In education, there are changes. We need to be certain that these are not being made by the extreme right wing, which used to hide in people like Karl Marx. In religion, the perilous state of the Church of England needs to be examined for what it is there some kind of problem being caused for the Christian movement as a whole? I promise you that these are the areas that traditionally the banking elite will attack. What is happening in those sections, and can we get to the bottom of them? And we will get to the bottom of them, and we'll find that there's a common denominator in all the changes that occur in these areas. If we feel uncomfortable in our nation and find difficulties, it is simply because of the way these four things finance, education, politics, religion are being eroded at exactly the same moment. And so there's something that we can all do there to investigate and to support the nation that we once loved and still loved, but perhaps find difficulties within it at the current time.
I'd like to thank you very much for coming on the show. This has been a very, very interesting conversation, and I'm sure that all our listeners have really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you very much, Jen, and I certainly hope they will. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
يعني ممكن أقول أن مثل هذه الجلسة أو مثل هذه اللحظة أو مثل هذه المقابلة أو مثل هذه الحلقة يغرس فيها شيء يسمعك في هذا العالم من يسمع. إذن ماذا يسمع؟ يسمع كلام عن النبوة، أننا لو رأينا العالم كله احتدم بالذم والدم يجب أن تقول كلمة حق، فإن كلمة الحق لها أثر، والكلمة الطيبة صدقة فإن لها رجالها تنشأ وتكبر، وإذا لم تجد ثمرتها في الدنيا ستجد ثمرتها هناك في ساعة الاستثمار الحقيقي عندما تلقى الله، ستجد ثمرتها عند الموت، ثمرتها في القبر، ثمرتها في البعث والنشور، ثمرتها يوم يتمايز الخلق ويعرفون في ذلك العالم تحت ظل عرش الله. تجد أنك قلت شيء أفاد ونفع.